Welcome to Aging in Style with me, Lori Williams. I'm an optimist by nature, and I believe you can follow your dreams at any age. My grandmother's journey with dementia ignited a passion in me to work with seniors. I've spent the past 13 years learning about seniors and aging. In my mid-50s, I followed my own dream and founded my company, where I use my expertise to help seniors locate housing and resources. On this podcast, we cover all aspects of aging. Join us each week to meet senior living experts and inspirational seniors who are following their dreams. The fact is, we're all aging, so why not do it in style? Hi, welcome back to another episode of Aging in Style with Lori Williams. Today we are talking about history and family history and video and knowing your family story. And a few months ago, my mother had downsized and moved, and she gave me boxes full of stuff. And as I was looking through them, I came across a little book that my grandmother had made. And it had like these prompts for different questions about, where you were born, how many siblings you had, different memories, childhood memories, just all the way through childhood, through adulthood, and even asking about your grandchildren. And it was amazing. And sadly, my grandmother was from Ecuador and she spoke Spanish, but she spoke Spanish and English. So she kind of wrote like that too. So it was Spanish, English, Spanish, English. So I was trying to find out what she was saying. I couldn't quite understand it all. And so I got my cousin on the phone who speaks Spanish, and we were figuring out, translating it. And it was just so wonderful. It was like my grandmother was right there with us. And it was exactly like she talked, with the, in and out of Spanish to English. And we were learning some things that we never knew about her. And so kind of a week or so later, I'm introduced to a gentleman who has started a company that makes videos, like videos your mom, your grandmother, your grandfather, telling these stories, these family stories. So how cool to have in their own words, their story. And so, of course, I talked to him. I loved his passion and enthusiasm for this. And that's what we're talking about on this podcast. And he agreed to join us. So let me introduce you to David Olshansky, and his company is My Family Features. And a little bit about him. David spent almost a decade as a journalist producing local and national news for CBS and Tribune Media before moving into corporate communications. He's worked as a communications director and consultant for several organizations in Dallas-Fort Worth, including Fortune 500 companies. Now he's using his skills as a communicator to help families capture and preserve their most precious memories with Family Features. So thank you for joining us, David. I'm so glad you're here.
Hi, Lori. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm excited to talk with you.
Great. Well, when we talked last week or whenever it was, I loved your enthusiasm. And I know that this business, this is your passion. And I want to know what led you into this, to working with seniors.
You're right. It is my passion. And what led me into it was really my family and my family history. My family immigrated here to the United States from the Soviet Union in 1979. And so my grandparents especially, have these incredible stories of their lives that really I want my children and their children and their children and on to know about. And so that's what inspired me to want to capture these stories for all families. Unfortunately, I didn't get around to thinking about this in these terms until it was too late for my grandparents on my father's side. And so when my grandparents passed away, their stories left with them. And so now, of course, we know some of them and we can hear them again from our parents and whatnot, but it's just not the same. They obviously, don't have the same perspective, and they didn't, it's not the truly lived experience that my grandparents had. And so I want to make sure, and that is really the core behind Family Features, is I want to make sure that no other person, no other family has the same regret that I have, and captures those stories forever and ever.
hmm And I love that because I mean a written story is wonderful too. I mean, no discounting that. And like I said, I love finding these stories that my grandmother wrote, but how special would it be to hear her voice and see her face and hear her telling these stories? And I think it's just amazing. Now, I know that you have several different services that you provide. So tell us about the different services, examples of each of them.
Sure. So the first one is really just a basic tell your story. It's almost like a video memoir. And so I come in for an hour and I sit with the person being interviewed, grandma, grandpa, or even moms and dads for that matter. And I just have a conversation with them. And we're talking about meaningful things in life. We're not just talking about what color the sky is outside today. We're talking about the things that really matter. Their families, their feelings, their regrets, their successes, their loves, the things that make them laugh, their favorite foods and their favorite things to do, as well as their life history and their story as they remember it and as they tell it. And so really the goal is in that hour is to capture the essence of the person so that anyone can watch that video, whether it's the next day or in 10 years or 100 years, and know who that person is and feel them in the room with them, regardless of where they are.
When you record, because I know people are going to ask this, and I know I asked you this question too, but does it come on a video? It's in the cloud. How does that work? What is the format?
So it's a video, and so I can really return that video kind of in any format or on any device that someone wants. So if they're more comfortable, keeping that on a flash drive at home, then I can put it on a flash drive or like in an external hard drive. I can also just upload it to YouTube or Vimeo as a private video, so that you can always access it through a link, and that's essentially like being in the cloud. Or I can upload it to like a truly cloud storage service like Google Drive or Dropbox or something to that effect. There's really no limitation on the way that I can give the video back.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I know you have other services. I want to get to all of them, but the one that I just was so excited about, I just think it's so cool. And I've told several friends about it, but you're one that, everyone's mom or grandma has their special recipe, right? Mm-hmm. And, maybe it's a secret recipe they've never shared, but you will actually go into the kitchen with them and shoot the video like a Rachel Ray style. And I thought this was so fun. So you record grandma making her favorite meal, whatever that may be, and even include the recipe and other like pictures and stuff. So tell us about that one.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a lot of what you described, but as you said, everyone has kind of their favorite recipes or meals that mom or grandma or even dad or your uncle or whoever used to make you. And as the generations pass, sometimes those recipes get lost or they don't get made the same. And so I've heard from so many people, that we all have this shared experience. We love grandma's cooking or something like that. And so I'll go in the kitchen with them while they're making this meal, and I'll have them kind of walk me through the process of making the recipe. And on the back end, I'll take the recipe down on paper, and on the back end, I'll include it in the video. So as she's adding ingredients, it pops up with a little text. So exactly how much to add. So she doesn't have to say, add a quarter teaspoon of this, because she's probably just making it right from her head, right from her memory. So so we'll go in and do that. And as I say, this kind of video always ensures that he or she will be there to guide you through every step of the recipe.
I just absolutely love that. So, and I know we were talking beforehand that my mom makes a wonderful gumbo, and we'll have to figure out a way to record her doing that, because I don't know how to make her gumbo.
Most definitely. And I have, and you know what, it's really common. Lori, I have a friend whose mother unfortunately passed away, and she was really young, but she passed away several years ago. And he doesn't know how to make the foods that she made, because they're all kind of ethnic foods from where she's from. Unfortunately, they never learned how to make those foods. And so, he goes years since she's passed without having those foods that he really, really loved. Mm-hmm. And so again, that's why I find these videos to be really important, so that you capture the things that really, really matter, and they can't just disappear one day.
Mm-hmm. And how special is that memory to, for yourself, like you mentioned, if, a parent passed away young, or, for your own kids, if they don't get to meet their grandkids or great grandkids who can watch great grandma cooking, meatballs or whatever it was, her special recipe, and hear her talking about it. I think that's amazing. Tell us about the other services that you do.
Sure. So we've got just some more basic, not just meant for the senior community, like a time capsule service where maybe a younger family can do an interview together or individually, and then revisit that in 5 or 10 years and see how they've grown and changed, and how their views may have changed, or how their feelings may have changed, or maybe they added a new member of the family. And so we have that. And then I have one where you can just deliver a special message. So if you can't make it to a wedding, or, a lot of people live out of state or far away from their families, you can deliver a birthday message or a special wedding message or anniversary or something to that effect. And we have one more, which is a little bit heavy, but it is for people who want to leave the world with some last words or some last thoughts. And so those are for people who know maybe they have a terminal diagnosis or something to that effect, and they have something that they want to say, and make sure that it's remembered and they're remembered by it. And so we'll come in and we'll do that, and it can be written. We'll provide a teleprompter if they need to read it, just to ensure that the message is exactly what they want. And so we'll do that as well.
That's very, very special and so meaningful to families. I'm sure that's just a wonderful service. And I know you're here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but you will travel pretty much anywhere, right?
Yes, for sure. Like we talked about, many people live far away from their families. It's just kind of the nature of our world now. And so like I said, my ultimate goal is to help families capture these memories. And so if I have to go to another state or another country, or another planet, I guess now with all the advances, just to help families capture those memories and ensure that they have them, then that's what I'll do.
Great. And I know people can go on your website to see the pricing. I think your pricing was on there, but your pricing is very reasonable too for this. So I just want people to know that. Don't be thinking this is going to be super, crazy expensive, but it's a very, very reasonable, great value.
Thank you.
You priced it because I do know it's your passion. You want people to do this.
Correct. I didn't want the price to make people hesitant to do it. Mm-hmm. Everyone already kind of has a reason to say no. Generally, we procrastinate or we put it off, or we'll say there's always tomorrow, even though tomorrow isn't promised. And so I didn't want people to look at that and use that as an excuse. Mm-hmm. Additionally, in this senior community, many times we're dealing with people who are on fixed incomes, who don't necessarily have the resources to buy really expensive things. And that was another consideration. I wanted to make this really affordable and attainable, so that everybody can have it, because like I said, again, my mission, I want to do this for people. This is my service to families to ensure that these memories are captured, and that people can in some way live on forever. Mm-hmm. And so I don't think I'll ever be a millionaire from this, and that's not my goal. My goal is to help families capture and preserve their loved ones.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? I think it's would make a great like Christmas gift or Mother's Day gift, that as a child, the adult child, to give to your mother or to your grandmother or grandfather or, whoever your person is, and to have them record it, because it's really, you're giving them a gift that they can share, that shares on to the next generation. So I think if you're thinking of something for Christmas, I know it's only July, but I think that would make a
Thanks,
great
Lori.
Christmas
I'm going to
gift.
have to hire you in sales.
Hey, just thinking of these ideas. So yeah, no, I think it'd be a great gift, when you're trying to think of something to give. And we did a show at Christmas about like what to give mom or dad who's in an assisted living because they're so limited on space. So, I mean, hey, this is the perfect gift. So there's a little plug for you.
Thank you.
And I always like to ask guests about inspirational seniors because I always find it, an interesting, anyone who does anything to work with seniors, there's someone in your life who inspires you. So who inspires you that's a senior?
Really, it's my grandparents on both sides. They are, you get asked these questions a lot. Like, who are your heroes, or who would you want to sit down and have a dinner with if you had one or two people to pick? And it's always my grandparents. And the reason why is because they went through so much to give me the life and opportunities that I and my generation have today. Again, and it's just sad that I have to tell them, but if I were to tell you some of their stories, I mean, you just wouldn't even believe some of the things that they went through. My family comes from the Soviet Union. They grew up under oppressive communist regimes. They fought in wars. They went through wars. They went through famine and starvation. They left everything they know and picked up their entire lives as adults and moved to an entirely new country with no money, no language, no connections, nothing. And they did all that to give me and my sister and everyone that I know who's in my age group and the generations after us a chance at a better life. And so they really inspired me every day. And I actually wear my wedding ring is my grandfather's ring that he wore.
Oh, that's so special.
And so that is truly my day-to-day inspiration is the sacrifice that my grandparents made to give us a better life.
Mm-hmm. That's why you're so passionate about preserving memories, because you have all these. Yeah. That's your connection.
I mean, of course there's something to that, right? I mean, I guess I'm just a a sentimental guy. I've always loved looking at old picture albums, and I could sit for hours and go through every picture and talk about who's in them and what was happening at the time. And I love watching old family home movies and things like that. I mean, that's always just been something that I love to do. But to your point that you talked about at the beginning, having the photos or having it written down, or even having home movies where they're in the movie, but they're not the focus of it necessarily. It's all great. And it's all really special to have. This service and these videos that I'm making are kind of like the next level to that. There is just nothing that compares to being able to see them and watch them and hear their voice and hear their laughter, or see them cry when they get emotional and talking about certain things. It's like I said, it's like having them in the room with you again. Mm-hmm. There's just nothing that compares to it. And I have had far too many people already tell me that they wish they would have had this, or they wish they would have done this, but they can't anymore because their grandparents or parents have passed away. And so, like I say, I don't want anybody to have that regret anymore.
Yeah, no, I lost my father very young. He was only 50. And I have no video or audio because, it was 1989. So it's not like we all carried our phones around. And now, we do have clips and things. So, that really strikes a chord with me because my kids will never know his laughter, his voice. And kind of beyond that, I love what you do, that you ask them questions, maybe questions that you wouldn't, normally ask your parent. And maybe you learn some things about them, about your parent or your grandparent. And then you have that on video forever.
Yep. And to your point, I of course, started out doing this for my immediate family. And I went and I interviewed my dad, who's, relatively young still. Thank God he's still with us. And I learned things about him that I didn't know. And I've known him for 38 years and I didn't know these things about him. And, he revealed things to me that we hadn't talked about before. And so that's really special. And now I have that forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, I love the service, and I think you've come up with just, a great product here. And I hope that people will definitely contact you and start getting their videos made. So how can people reach you?
So the best way is to go to my website. It's myfamilyfeatures.com. Very easy to remember. I'm also on Facebook at Family Features. That's the best way. My email is there. My phone number is there. They can call, they can email, they can text, any which way they can to get a hold of me, and I will get back in touch with them. We'll start the process. We'll make our first initial call just to make sure, we talk about the things, maybe there are certain things they want to talk about or certain things that they definitely don't want to talk about. And those are subjects that are off limits, and we don't want to get too invasive. We'll do that, and then we'll set up some time and come out and get the interview. And it's a quick hour. The hour goes by pretty fast. Mm-hmm. But we cover a lot of ground in that hour. And I have prompts and questions to make sure that the conversation is flowing. We can provide those beforehand, but generally we like them to kind of be a surprise. So the conversation is very natural and they haven't overthought their answers to anything. And then we'll record it all and then put it online or on a flash drive or wherever. And it's done.
Love it. Sounds easy.
It
easy
is.
for you.
Well, you know what? It's so worth the investment and the time because you just never know. And people say, like, I've had one guy tell me, he said, nobody wants to hear from me. No one cares about me. I said, you know what? You say that now, but if and when the time comes, and please God, let it be for a very long time, but when the time comes, it will be extremely meaningful to the people who love you to have that.
100% agree. So, well, thank you so much for being on the show. And we will be sharing your website also. And if anyone has questions, needs me to link you up with David, if you can't find him on the website, which you will, just let me know, reach out to me, and we'll put his info on our website too, which is LoriWilliams-seniorservices.com. Thank you everyone for listening, and we'll see you next week.